Okay, I've been playing around with a kind of songo groove. So the basic groove is this. What I wanted to show in this video was how I've been using RhythMachine to inspire other rhythms that I can play between the bass and the snare drum, and also use it as a kind of framework to solo over. And it's practicing my aural skills, as in listening, hearing rhythms, and then being able to play them back. So basically at the end of this video, I'll show you the exact setup in RhythMachine to produce this specific setup that I'm working with. But basically what's happening is I have a sequencer that is playing the bell part, and RhythMachine is generating two bars. The first bar is a random rhythm in 16th notes played between the snare and the kick. And the second bar is a bar of rest. So this is what that sounds like. A bar of rest. So that's a pretty difficult one. If I hit the N key, it will generate a different rhythm. So let me hit the N key and see if we can get something simpler. That's simpler. Okay, so da go 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 da go. So the idea is I try and play along with that. Go 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 da go. So it's tricky for me because this is new to me, playing this bell pattern with the 8th note at the beginning and the broken 16th, and so I get confused as to what that's doing. So it's a real independence challenge. And then I've got to remember what the rhythm was between the kick and the snare and then play it over this. And the idea is that you'll practice with this, and instead of listening to it 8 times and singing it in your head and then playing it, you'll get to the stage where you're just playing the groove and you hear that rhythm and then you incorporate it. Now, having it played as an actual snare and kick on here makes it difficult to tell if you're playing it correctly, because you kind of cover up what's going on. So I'm going to switch RhythMachine into pitch mode, and I'm basically saying that every time it generates something, it's going to be a C with the 5th of a C. So it will pick between C and G as the 2 notes, and it will just use those 2 notes to make a rhythm. So it's the same thing, but this time we hear pitches instead of drums. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, so it took me a while to get that because I was forgetting what the rhythm was and getting confused. So it's a real challenge just to work on the little individual exercises like this. But if you get pretty good at that, let me play another one and I'll show you how you could then use that as a framework to solo over. So we'll just play with whatever it comes out with. Okay. So I might start off by phrasing with that under the groove, go into the regular songo groove in the quiet bars, and then start to use it as a framework for just getting solo ideas. Okay, so it's a challenge, but it's fun, and it's a different vamp every time. So it's really, like I say, testing your ears, testing your ability to play what you hear. So if you get very good at that, then what you could do is tell RhythMachine to play each thing and repeat it only once. So, or no times, and so it will do a different one every time. But this way, it's going to play a rhythm, then have a bar of rest, play the same rhythm, and this time you can try and phrase with it, then have a bar of rest, and then it will automatically move on. All right, that's a pretty tricky one to start with. So you would have played along with that one, and then it will be a new one. So a much simpler one that time. So let me try and do just one of these, just between the snare and the kick. So you get the idea, and if you have a laptop by your side that you can work with, if you hear one that you like and you want to solo over, if you press the K key, it will loop that one until you press end. So you can just have it going on random until you hear one you like, press K, and then you can use that to solo over. So that's what I wanted to show in this video. I'm now going to show you the exact setup for this in case you have a copy of RhythMachine and you want to set it up. So first of all, we're working with a 2-bar section. So you up here you say I want to work with 2 bars. Now when you specify a number of bars, this space here represents that entire number of bars. So this at the moment represents 2 bars. If I said 200 bars, this would represent 200 bars. And the grey part in here represents the space where RhythMachine is going to generate random rhythms, and the white part is where it's just going to be a click. So if you just click in here and drag and let go around the middle, you can see that's going to start on beat 1 of bar 1 and end on beat 1 of bar 2. So that's going to generate 4 beats of random pattern. If I was to do that, it's going to end on beat 4 of bar 2. But it's still only going to generate 4 beats of random pattern, so it would create them in here, and then it would repeat the first 3 beats, and then the next time round it would repeat 1 beat, and it would get kind of confusing. So we want this to be from starting on 1-1, ending on 2-1. I have the tempo set to 100 BPM, and I'm going to say to begin with repeat 100 times, for example. And so that's going to stay on the same pattern, and you can practice with that pattern. I've muted the click, which is just a cowbell, and then you double click where it says P sequence, or P seek, and in there I've programmed in this cowbell pattern. So I've used the go-go bells. You can click on the number here, and if you use the up and down keys, it tells you what the instrument is. So I clicked on there, moved up until I saw lower go-go, which is 68, and then 67 on the line underneath, and I chose a louder volume for the lower go-go bell and a quieter volume for the high. So it's dun, 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 dun. Here I've set the length to 16 beats. You can see if you change this that the purple bar moves. So that's basically, if I leave it there, then it's only going to play this part of the pattern and loop that. This is the same as octave sequencer, so I want 16 beats in there. And I want it at a rate of 16th notes. So if I had it at a rate of 8th notes, this would play half as fast. So that's all I've got set up in the sequencer. And then down here I've chosen that I want 8th note and 16th note permutations. If you mouse over any of these sliders, it tells you what the permutation was. So if you didn't want, for example, to ever have to play 4 notes in a row, then you could bring this slider all the way down and that will never happen. So if I bring them all down, for example, whoops, and I push P up, then you'll hear that every time, you'll see here what it's generating, and you'll see that it plays all of the notes. Okay, that's because this is the only slider that's up. If I put up only slider M, that's 0, 1, 1, 1, then the rhythm will always be 0, 1, 1, 1. So you can decide which rhythms you want to work with, and And then, you know, the higher the slider, the more likely it is that you will get that rhythm. So if I put 1, 1, 1, 1 nearly all the way up and 0, 1 just a tiny bit, then we'll get a combination of those two. Okay, so that's basically what these are doing. So I had the 8th note and the 16th note all the way up. I have only 1 up here, which is how it's standard. And then over here, where it says orchestration, I brought the volume of the zeros all the way down. Because you can see when it's playing a pattern that there are zeros and ones, and we're only hearing the ones. If you put this volume slider up, it will play the zeros as well, and it will play them as the root note of the chord. So then it's continuous 16th note. So I brought that volume all the way to 0. And then we're in pitch mode here. And what I did was told all of these chords to be +5th. So basically, when you're in pitch mode, when you trigger a 1 in here, it chooses a note from whatever chord is set here. So this is the root note of the chord, and this is the chord type. So if I choose C minor, then it will choose notes out of the C minor chord. And the reason I chose +5 is just so that we only have 2 notes to pick from, so I can interpret those as kick drum and snare drum. But you can get as complicated as you want with this. So I'm going to go back to C+5. And finally, what I did was, with the octaves here, I chose -1 and brought all the others down. If I put -3 up, that's going to choose C and G from the -1 octave and from the -3 octave. So there's 4 notes to choose from there, and some of them are going to be very low. Okay, so there you can choose your octave, so I just chose the -1 octave. The final thing I did was chose to put the sustain up a little way. If I have it off, then they're very short staccato notes. And if I turn it up, then we get longer notes, which is a little bit more natural. So I'm not going to go into any more details, but that's how I set it up to play this little groove, and I've been having some fun with it, so you will hopefully have some fun with it too. If you want to get yourself a copy, head over to joecrabtree.com/software. Thanks for watching.